Comeback for Vasilev and Lukic! A banger of a strike for Jovan Lukic's first MLS goal!
It's fallen out to Westfield! Oh, wow! He's nearly taken the roof of the net off! Philadelphia pounce again!
Who gets his goal on his Union debut? The record signing! Off and running in his first appearance for the club!
Hello and welcome. I am not Todd Lewis, but this is the Free Kick Podcast. I apologize to all the folks who do not enjoy the Jose Nunez experience of the machine that is the Free Kick Podcast. But today is a Jose Nunez-driven show with Todd Lewis taking a backseat as a producer. Todd is not feeling well. In fact, we talked right before the show, and he mentioned he's got white spots growing in his mouth. So I don't know. I'm no scientist, but that sounds to me like the boy has got strep throat or something else. I'm not sure. So all that to say that Todd will be taking a backseat. But with that said, we have the wonderful and probably better side of the one team we agree on. Some would say, some may say. Jillian, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Jose. It's a little tired. It's been a long day driving back from Columbus today, but doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I was going to ask you, how was that all? I know I've made a similar, actually, I've absolutely made that drive. Not necessarily to the stadium, but that specific drive leading into a different area. But that's a very boring drive. And it's not terrible, but it's just boring.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, coming from Lancaster, we're a little bit farther west than if we were coming from Philly. So it's not so bad. But yeah, you get on the turnpike and it's just kind of a straight shot. And credit to Kyle because he drove the entire way, like to and from. He was my chauffeur, and I was using the time wisely. I was writing articles and different things while he was driving. So I know we had that discussion. It does not bother me whatsoever being on my laptop in the passenger seat. So doesn't make me car sick or anything like that. So yeah. So shout out to Kyle for doing that and allowing me to make good use of my time, which definitely made the time pass. So
yeah, shout out to Kyle for doing that. I personally cannot in all of my own personal travel, whether it's on the train, I can do it because that's kind of you're just in a I don't know, like stationary spot in a way. In an airplane, I can't. I don't know what it is about it. In an airplane, I can't just begin reading or begin typing away. In fact, like role-playing video games, for example, with heavy reading, I just like start getting all dizzy. So I just play FIFA or whatever. And certainly not in the car. And I think I share that genetically with my children who are just so prone to wanting to throw up in a vehicle. So definitely not something that we enjoy here in the Nunez household. However, awesome stuff. Thank you for sharing those beautiful pictures of the, I don't know. I was talking to MLS folks, but I feel like there should be a rule that stadiums cannot be named after products, but rather should just be named after brands. Like, how can you have a stadium named after Scott's Miracle Grow rather than just Scott's, period? It kind of threw me off while writing my article yesterday for the league.
Right. Yeah. The field did look amazing. And that is an incredible stadium, to be honest. So, yeah, definitely one that Kyle and I've enjoyed going to, aside from the results that have happened in said building.
Well, we'll talk about that and probably a few more things. We're not going to go the typical length of a Free Kick podcast. That's nothing against you, Silly Jilly. But I personally, I'm not a natural host. I think I'm just a face that shows up for these things. And Todd, like a good captain, usually just takes us along the ride, and we just kind of follow his lead. So I envision this to be just sort of a quick review and maybe a quick looking forward to what's coming for the Union as they continue. And I think our producer Todd can remind me, or maybe you, Jillian, but this is the Philadelphia Union's worst start ever, if I recall correctly, in team history.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes, thank you. One thing I do want to say about that field, pretty sure that pitch pattern was illegal. 95% sure that is not an allowed pattern on the field. So I believe Columbus will be getting fined in some way, shape, or form for that. Not that they care. The field looked incredible. And I just wonder maybe if the Union look at that and think maybe all the guardrails are off for Star Wars Day this coming weekend. So more to come on that. But let's flip the page over to talk about the Columbus Crew. Yeah, thank you. I miss him too because I don't like doing this as much as he does. So I apologize to all of you. Let's talk about the Columbus Crew defeating the Philadelphia Union, your Philadelphia Union by a score of 2-0. Max Arfsten, I would say, the catalyst to the entire operation for Columbus. I had to, the beauty of working for the league, you kind of get to write about every single team, but it seems like I either write about Petar Musa out in Dallas or I write about Max Arfsten out in Columbus. And he was my target yesterday and certainly a player that really, really stood out for me. And I think everybody who was watching the match in terms of what he provided to the field. But altogether, it felt like a really interesting match, and maybe press, fans, and Bradley Carnell watched three different things altogether in terms of his comments after the match, and certainly the consensus, or I guess lack of consensus, across the field. Jillian, as someone that was at the stadium, what did you think of the match? What was sort of your reaction as the game went on? Obviously, Philippe Ndinga has probably a shocker of a game for his early start here with the Philadelphia Union. What did you make of this?
Yeah. So yeah, Kyle and I both in the press box. And the first thing, of course, is we get the lineup. It's all of a sudden like, oh, where's Frankie? First of all, we're like, ooh, that's not good. And then we see him down on the sideline during warm-ups, and he's, not dressed to play, obviously. And we're like, oh boy. And right off the bat, though, Ndinga was having trouble. And before Arfsten scored, Kyle looks at me and he's like, look at Arfsten over there. He's just sitting out there waiting. And wouldn't you know it, like right after he said that, pretty much like within maybe not even a minute, Arfsten scores. And I look at him and I'm like, yeah. So that right away, we're like, oh no, like Ndinga was getting kind of cooked. Honestly, we're like, this could not go well. And Arfsten almost scores again, like off to an awful start. But one thing that we noticed was that, that Japhet Sery Red, Andre, like those guys were trying to settle down the team. They're trying to crumb, especially Andre. And so then they settle down a bit and kind of grow into the game. And so as the first half is going, like, okay, they're getting this under control. It's only 1-0. Could they come back, and maybe equalize here? But then stoppage time happens. And so just honestly, we were really looking forward to maybe the narrative of, oh, this is Nate Harriel's 100th career MLS start, the first homegrown with the Union to achieve that. And at the during stoppage time, and Nate has the own goal, just all that kind of changed the narrative so much. And it was unfortunate for sure. But yeah, pretty much just a story of the Union got outplayed big time right from the beginning, and they had to just dig themselves out of that. And unfortunately, they couldn't.
Did you stop that they couldn't, right? You didn't freeze on me.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure, because my iMac's doing all types of funny things right now with the video clipping. Yeah, I don't know. I remain maybe not confused, but I felt that in watching this game, it was two relatively similar styles of play with what Columbus was doing and Philadelphia was doing. Obviously, Bradley Carnell and Henrik Rudström, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. And even Rudström mentioned it after the match and having to listen to this press conference. This was a game where two teams really wanted to press high. Obviously, Columbus at a very different rate, but Henrik did give the Union a lot of credit for being relentless. Right? They got they got scored on the first goal, and they didn't for good or for bad, I don't know. They didn't really deviate from what their plan was. And I think that's just been the story of Philadelphia year after year, certainly during the Bradley Carnell tenure here so far. More on that. I know there's a lot of questions about what things look like in the future, but Henrik mentioned, this is a play style that if you keep Max high and somewhat tight, you can create this type of space down the wing if you just ping a ball over Ndinga or whatever, left back, right back, etc. It didn't even have to go over top of Ndinga for Arfsten to get it. I don't know if it's fair to qualify it, and maybe I regret this because I hate to put my opinion into sort of, relaying, I should say, place or talking about the way that players play. But I felt like that was maybe an elementary style mistake, right? I mean, it was a ball that was, I don't know, producer Todd can chime in and remind us. Jillian, your memory as well. Obviously, we saw it through the broadcast. Maybe you watched highlights or replays, but it looked like a waist high ball. It didn't really look like it was this troublesome. If anything, I don't know who kicked it. I can't recall. Was it Chambos who kicked the ball past Ndinga? I can't recall, but it looked like it was just a tight angle that, he just twisted Chambos, twisted his waist and just pinged it, hoping that something would be there, and Ndinga just made a mess of it. So I don't know what it was about yesterday that it felt like center backs were just sort of being dragged into the middle. I think there was a point that I even saw Owethu being dragged a little bit past half field, and it wasn't even like, the Union were setting up shop to have this nonstop attacking, flurry. It was just sort of, center backs just being pulled all over the place. But what I will give the Union credit, and our good friend Mike Barrera did mention, was just how good I think the Union were at occupying Diego Rossi. And I think that's where the good stopped, to be completely honest with you. And sure, you taking him away from the game, taking Diego out of the game is a massive plus. But then you're also leaving Max out to play. Picard's a very, very dangerous player. Then you have, I'm really impressed by him, Taha Habrun, a very, very young guy, 20-year-old. I believe he featured, was he part of that U20 World Cup squad, or did he not make it? I can't recall if he was or he wasn't. But he's somebody.
I feel like he was.
Yeah, okay. He was very impressive, or has been very impressive to me. And again, having to write about Columbus multiple times now. But I think, I don't know, Jillian, I don't know if this is concerning to you, but the Union really couldn't do much to even threaten someone like Rudy Camacho, right? One of the, I think, slowest center backs that I've watched in the league. It just, I feel like there's something to go on about here with the partnership of strikers, as we see some younger strikers doing very well, talking about early games earlier today, and then also talking about maybe from abroad, right? Seeing what, other defenders that the Union do have rights to, doing very well abroad out in Denmark in terms of the Neil Pierres of the world. So I think Todd did some really, really good work for us in terms of some clips to make sure that we keep the show flowing and keep it moving. But I think one of the first clips that we want to share with everybody today and lift up is that of Bradley Carnell talking about the transition moments and maybe the Union not capitalizing on them, which was obviously their bread and butter last year. But it feels like this year more than ever, they're turning more into just aimless kicking forward. But let's hear from Carnell quick.
When you attribute your qualities in the transitional game model, right? So we haven't been good enough in the transition. Simple as that. We've won the ball, given it straight back to the opponent. We've won the ball, not connected the pass. We've won the ball and, not got shots off. So, a couple of times tonight we get into really good situations and unfortunately we don't progress in the right manner. Columbus is a very good counter-pressing team, and I thought, we played into their chaos a little bit. When we did break to the weak side or when we did get in behind, then it looks dangerous. And then you can see, where the gaps and the weakness was of their posture on the day. And once we do get that, we have to execute at the highest level, and unfortunately, we're not there.
Execution. That might be the word of the day, and maybe the word 10 games into the season. Lacking. Jillian, what do you make of this little clip that Carnell gave us? There's there was so much to clip from that press conference, and you saw it firsthand. I'd love to hear. Hey, what did Bradley seem like during the press conference for you being in person? I think all of us have seen him at the highest of highs, obviously, winning a Supporters' Shield. And it feels like you might have seen him at the lowest of lows in person. How was Bradley during the press conference? And then your thoughts on that clip.
Yeah, honestly, I was wondering what to expect going to that press conference. And we've seen Bradley have his spicy moments. And we've
had one yesterday.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, he just seemed kind of disappointed, a little bit, almost numb, I would say. But he was, for what it's worth, he was pleasant to Kyle and me. But yeah, again, he's just got to be feeling so much immense pressure right now. I don't envy him on that aspect whatsoever. But I think that, again, he's trying, he believes in his players. I think it's just, they're in this rut. I think he seems like they can, maybe get out of it. It's just a matter of, execution and cleaning up things. For the most part, they've been in these games and they've just been on the wrong side of it each time. So, I mean, they could turn it around, but that pressure is mounting. So, and I feel like that's really weighing on him big time, as it probably would for anybody.
So talk to me about this execution or lack of execution. I know for myself, as I watch this team and I think about, and without, I think without rose-tinted glasses, just how, I don't even know if this is a term, but or if the data backs it, but how surgical they felt last year in terms of the way that they would, have these counterattacks. And I would say that 7 out of 10 times that you would see some sort of overload, you're just seeing Philadelphia, at least, like I said, in 2025, you're seeing Philadelphia just get something out of these 4-on-3s or 4-on-4s or flipping the possession over so high up the field that something good happens. This year, as Bradley Carnell mentions, just execution is just not there, where at least I'm seeing balls being dumped into positions where, okay, go and run and go after. But what happens after? No one's going along with the play. No one's available for a cross in the tap in. You don't have Kai Wagner to cross the ball. Jillian, your thoughts on the lack of execution from the team?
Well, you said it right there. I think a huge missing piece is Kai Wagner. He was really, I think, the MVP of the team and so consistent there. I mean, he rarely missed games, and just it's a huge hole without him. Now, I think that Frankie Westfield has a lot of good attributes, and he's got a lot of promise. He's able to do some really good crosses. He's really good at, chance creation. He's, stepping it up, but then his absence was felt, I thought. And then I think that a player that really got a lot of unwarranted hate by some fans, and I think his skills are missed, is Mikel Ua. I mean, he really, maybe he wasn't scoring as many goals as people would like, but I think that his skill set is definitely missing as well. And so you take some of that, you're just not getting the ball sent down as well. You're not getting the crosses. You're not getting someone to finish most of the time. So that is the problem. And they're not getting those goals like they did last year. So it's, and as hot and cold as he would be, at least Ty Baribo is good at, poaching there at the end. I think that, a player like Malik Jakupovic has the potential to be like that guy, but he's still so green at this as well. So it's they've got to figure something out there with that. And I think that just removing so many of those pieces has been a problem.
I think that's a perfect transition to mention maybe as I look at our producer through the curtain. Great, maybe the best word to use. Great friend of the pod, Devin Kerr, who mentions over and over again how excited he himself is for Jakubovic himself. And I know, obviously, we've kicked the tires on him a lot and seen him, you in person, myself through a screen as I use Sundays to spend it with my kids at home as much as I can before I either go travel or obviously full-time job, etc. Just how talented he is. But I think this also begs a different question, Jillian. And I think Bradley Carnell sort of sparked the conversation or continues to stoke the conversation of this group and this team. You have someone like Felipe Ndinga. You have club record signing Ezekiel Alado. Very, very young group. And Bradley spoke about balancing developing players, getting the minutes while also winning. And I think this is a great clip to bring up now.
Yeah, that's the art and the science of trying to get it right. So we got exponentially younger as a squad and as a roster, and this is something that we should embrace, and this is something that we need to get a hold of and take these challenges every single day. And then when we're on the field, can we then execute at the highest level against high quality opponents?
Tough balance. We have seen this. I know myself and Todd, I don't want to speak for the one team we agree on, but I know myself and Todd fully understand that the Union are a selling team. 95% of the teams across the world are selling teams. It's a truth that not many want to acknowledge. But I think that there is a balance that can be struck in terms of having youth movements and developments, as you see. Hold on. What is it? Red Bulls New York, not New York Red Bulls, Red Bulls New York, sort of, balling out with their players. And you also see Real Salt Lake with, do you pronounce it Gozo? Gozo, right? Gozo.
Gozo.
Yeah, great player who is continuing to push for a potential World Cup spot too, alongside the likes of Max Arfsten. What do you make of this balance that the Union have or maybe are lacking? I think we've continued to see Vasilev being trotted out, and I think he's a fine player, but I'm not sure that the minutes warrant or the what he has displayed warrant the minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate that Bradley has been willing to play more of these younger players that are coming up through. I think you do need to really achieve a balance with having the veteran players on there that can really mesh well with these younger players. I liked that Cavan started yesterday. I think giving him that shot was important. I feel like it was also a lot of change up on this lineup as well. But yeah, I mean, Cavan was fine. I honestly, I wonder how much the substitution plan changed when Jesús Bueno had to go out and Jovan Lukic had to come in right before halftime. I'm sure that threw some things off a little bit because maybe you see Malik come in at the end. And I'm not saying he's going to come in necessarily like just change everything, but I think that giving some of these young guys a chance is good, but also I know Bradley stressed it. Jim Curtin used to stress it. Marlon LeBlanc, Ryan Rick, they've all stressed, it is a big jump from next pro to the MLS level. So, putting these guys in a situation when it makes sense is also important too. So it's really a fine balance of getting these guys that playing time, but also having these veteran players around them to support as well. So, Red Bulls have, they've had a lot of success here with some of their young players. You see what they're doing. Guys like Julian Hall, like these guys are legit, but I would, I don't know, like the way Stas Korzeniowski, I mean, maybe he gets another shot. Maybe he can provide that spark coming up because he's been on a tear lately. But, I think Bradley's still figuring out what's going to work with this lineup. There's been so many changes to it. So And if that means some of these guys that are still developing getting thrown in there and being given a chance, like, hey, let's see what you can do. I don't know, maybe he needs to do that, but I don't think too much change is a good idea.
Jillian, I joined the press conference late and left early for my writing assignment for MLS. Did Carnell immediately or at all speak about Bueno and what happened and how he is?
Yeah, so I asked about Frankie and Bueno at the very beginning of it. And
Okay.
yeah, and on Frankie, they're not sure exactly. They were going to evaluate when they got back to Philly. And there wasn't much to be said about Bueno. He said he thought it was an ankle, but they were, still not sure about the severity. They're still figuring that out. So don't know yet. And that's a shame because Jesus Bueno has been doing so well. And it's good because, I've always appreciated his play in there. I've definitely been one to be high on his play. So that was unfortunate, honestly. So hopefully it's nothing too bad, but yeah, it looked like he got his ankle stepped on there. So yeah, he had to be like supported off the field and everything, as I think everyone watching saw, but yeah, no updates though.
Yeah, I don't believe I saw much of Bueno in terms of how he was carried. I kept on flipping between games for my assignments, but I also don't want to give too much of a leeway to the Apple producers who often cut to different camera angles for no apparent reason whatsoever. So maybe they showed it, maybe they didn't. To me, Westfield was the most intriguing. I know, obviously, I listened in the Spanish feed. They didn't mention anything about his injury. Again, good friend, great friend, best friend of the show, Devin Kerr, did mention that Frankie suffered some sort of knock at some point. Not sure exactly if he described where or when. Apparently, I think you had mentioned you saw him at the stadium. Was he limping?
He kind of looked like he was a little bit, honestly.
Okay.
From the little bit that I saw. Yeah, but because we weren't watching the broadcast since we were there, we're just like, oh, he's not in the lineup. And then we looked down, it's like, oh, there he is then when they're out for warm-up. So
Sure.
we supposed, he had picked up a knock. And so but yeah, that was unfortunate, but hopefully nothing too serious. It looked like there was like a slight limp, but again, I don't want to like speculate on things too much.
No, we don't want to speculate on injuries. I hope that he's okay. He's obviously, I think, a massive piece of what makes this team tick in the right ways. But any extended time with him away leading into the international break, the long international break would just be actually, are there two national breaks? Obviously, we have the World Cup one, but is there one right before? I know the U.S. have two games yet. So obviously there's international matches leading into the tournament. Is that an international break proper where we go away for like a week or two? And then I'm guessing that MLS decided to collate it, put it all together. I need to look that up.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I should know that off the top of my head. There we go. I guess it starts. It's all one big piece, right? So MLS just taking all of June and most of July off. And then I think we come back and we, meaning soccer, MLS comes back with Leagues Cup per se. So not quite MLS play right away for the Union, but man, I don't even want to think it's going to be mid-July before we know it. It's unbelievable. It scares the heck out of me. It should scare you as a teacher to kind of look at that calendar and think, oh my God, before you know it, you'll be back at it.
Yeah. I don't want to think about that yet, but I do want to mention as well that Next Pro is playing all through the summer. So if people are missing, the Union, well, at least, they have the Union too, but there's that.
There you go. Todd, thank you. Set to participate August 4th through September 6th. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty tight turnaround between coming right back from World Cup play to playing in this tournament that everybody claims to not like, but still watch it anyways, still follow it. So it is what it is. Final thoughts on the game, I think that I wanted to bring up were the Sery Larson red card. Really, really intriguing play. I see Mandy Kennedy here. Mandy 3995. Funny. That's such a I created just a YouTube account to comment type of account. Unless there's a 3995.
No, that's kind of like mine on YouTube too. Mine's like my name and a bunch of numbers that somehow generated. I don't know. I didn't write it. Like, trust me, it would probably be something like my childhood nickname, Silly Jilly, if I had actually planned it out. I will never change that name.
No, I don't blame you. We just got Raphael's, my son's school does like technology sell back right after the kids have used it. The stuff that they got to retire. So we bought an iPad for my nephew, and my sister-in-law had to enter her email for her iCloud account. And it was like, picture this Jess at yahoo.com. I'm like, this is the most middle school fucking name I've ever seen in my life. Like that's the most like, teenage girl trying to come up with a Zanga account or whatever.
Oh my gosh, that's a throwback. I had a Zanga back in the day. Oh my goodness.
A Zanga account.
Yikes.
Oh my God. But
anyway.
Sery Larson, Mandy, and you jogged my memory here because I know you commented on the clip of mine. Really difficult play, right? You see two big guys really just going at it, sort of headlocks, pulling, etc. I honestly, this is just insult to injury, considering the game at that point, just completely away from the Union. There was no way. Sery Larson getting a red, I'm not sure. Producer Todd can head nod yes or no if it was worth the red. I don't think it was worth the red, especially down 2-0. I think you just let him go one-on-one against Andre Blake and you save yourself from the expulsion and missing games in the future. But Sery Larson does what he did. A guy who they brought in for leadership, a guy that they brought in to step in right away to the youth. It's not an excuse for him, and especially how long they had chased after him. But made his decision and decided to go along with the play and rather than just sort of, let him, not necessarily let him run, but, get on a foot race rather than tugging him a little bit differently. Got a red card. Now he misses for sure one game. I can't imagine it gets elevated to anything else beyond that. But Jillian, from your vantage point, what did you see in terms of that red card? And did you think the Sery Larson made the right decision to even entertain the challenging back and forth there?
Yeah, well, watching it live, from where we were, it was harder to see like really how much of kind of a headlock it was going on there and how the arm got around. So like really it's seeing him taken down, but watching the replay of it, we're like, how is that a red card? Like that contact was initiated by Columbus, but brutal call. I think I know Bradley disagreed with it. As you said, he didn't think that was a red card. And I think that's just, I think anything that seemed to be able to go wrong in that match went wrong. And it was like absolutely brutal call. I am wondering if the Union will appeal that, because that I think is an error. I mean, I'm no expert on, these calls whatsoever, but even, I think I heard, were they saying it on like 360 on the broadcast? I think I heard someone say that they were questioning it too. Like, that doesn't seem like a good call. So I'll be interested to see how that moves forward. But yeah, from what I saw, I didn't think it was red card at all, but it was also a really risky play, even so by Jeff there. So I think if they're without him, it could be super detrimental. And then, okay, you move Nate over. What if Frankie's not available for the next game either? And then, I will say that, Gainer, maybe he gets to Finn Sundstrom, by the way, had what I thought was maybe his best game with Union 2 today. He was very, very good today with Union 2. I think he's been getting a little better every game. So does he get thrown in against Nashville? I don't know. But I will say, because I know like some people have only seen how he did against like DC maybe. I think he's been picking it up big time. So who knows? Maybe I'd give him a chance, but that's me, the person who's a developmental coach and, appreciating that aspect of it.
So the Union now look forward, fortunately or unfortunately, to perhaps the hottest team in MLS in Nashville, a team that in the last 5 games went on to dispose of Club America over 2 matches and CONCACAF Champions Cup play, beat Charlotte twice over the last 5 games, and Atlanta 2-0. Doesn't look good for Philadelphia, I would say, as they welcome BJ Callahan back home. And it sort of brings up a question to me, Jillian, and I know that there's a comment that I wanted to bring up from a little bit earlier, if I can scroll back up. But not to point out specific players, but, you know, Ndinga, Alado, I think as a whole, you think about this squad that's very, very young, facing a team in Nashville that's just running right through teams and not even making it even remotely close. Comes to a very vulnerable Philadelphia Union. Even, you know, we used to think, I would think, as press and certainly fans would feel the same way, and Jim Curtin and Bradley Carnell as well. What used to be, as our good friend, great friend of the show, David Melandra would say, the fortress at home, no longer a fortress. At least it doesn't feel. Mm-hmm. What do you do about this? How do you balance this game? I mean, you have to go for it, of course, but the level is just not there. I'm afraid that this could get out of hand really, really quickly.
Yeah, no, I think that maybe, you know, well, first of all, I think that I can't believe this. I'm going to say this, but I think even Ben Bender was better at left back last night, and he wasn't.
Had a great shot. I think
he
the
had
only
a fantastic shot,
half, right?
Yeah, I even took a clip of that one. Yeah, like that was actually a really good shot. He wasn't bad. I mean, he wasn't great. He wasn't bad. I thought it was a great shot. At least he let it rip, and Schulte had to make a good save on it, honestly. So I'd almost rather see him there, but also, you know, maybe a little creativity. I don't want to see Alejandro Bedoya, you know, playing outside back. But I will say this. I really do think that maybe this is a game where you definitely get Ale in there for his veteran leadership as well. He's actually off the bench, especially, he's been really good, you know, contributing there, I think. And so maybe he would be a good one to bring in for his leadership and help right the ship there a little bit. I'm not saying he needs to play the whole game. I'm not saying he should be playing on the back line, but maybe give him a chance there, especially depending on what happens with Bueno too, and if depending on what their options are here. So yeah, and I don't know. I feel like it could be ugly. I mean, Sam Surge is on a tear as well, so they're going to need to be ready on that defense for sure. So
Sam Surge has himself scored as many goals as Philadelphia has this season in MLS play, if I'm reading this correctly. Yes, and even though Nashville do play against Tigres this midweek, I still don't feel great about welcoming a Nashville side that just has, I don't know, I guess gone against convention in a way, right? We often think about teams that would go and you know, the schedule congestion was always the excuse, right? The schedule congestion of having CONCACAF Champions Cup and then going into MLS play and back and forth, leading into not so great performances. Nashville has been able to figure it out now, many, many games on the bounce, winning well, and figuring out also when to rotate, who to rotate, how to rotate, having players like Christian Spinoza that, 3 goals, but also 3 assists, just really, really being involved with this team from the get-go. So I don't know what it looks like for everybody who's going to be wearing these very cute Fang bucket hats for Star Wars night. If they're going to be crying into them or actually wearing them during that match, this could get very, very ugly really quickly if the Union don't sort themselves out in the back. But I worry that this could be a not so great scoreline against a team that's complete flow.
Last year against Nashville, that was the like $1 dog night. Hot dogs were being thrown on the field because the decisions by the referee were a little sus, but yeah, it could be not pretty again for sure. So see, well, maybe, who knows? Maybe with them playing midweek, maybe they'll rotate a bit because the Union haven't been as strong. Who knows? Maybe Isaiah LaFleur will actually get some time in the lineup. Who knows? He hasn't been featuring with Nashville at all. So
Producer Todd's on it, showing us clips of hot dogs being picked up by faces that I see around that stadium after the match. Incredible stuff. Yeah, no, unbelievable scenes from that game. Just so funny. Jillian, I don't want to be flippant with this next topic. Super quick topic as we maybe narrow down, or I guess start to exit the show. But obviously the worst start in Philadelphia Union history. Again, I want to repeat, I'm not trying to be flippant with people's jobs, but Riley Carnell, second season curse, maybe for the guy. It feels like this is feeling very, very much like a repeat of what happened to him. Maybe not quite exactly, certainly not exactly, I should say, as it happened in St. Louis, but I have a very hard time thinking that the rope is very long for him. Contract ends, if I recall correctly, at the end of this season. You also have an interim sporting director in John Scheer, Matt Ratatach as well, being in the mix of the decision making. What do you make of Carnell's stock at this point in the season? Weird to say, 10 matches into this season only.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's rough considering what he went through at St. Louis too. And you think, okay, how long will they let it go? Now, when you look at some cases like Greg Vanney at LA Galaxy, they had a terrible, terrible season and he's still there. But also you've seen managers fired for less. You've seen coaches fired for less. And so, I mean, each situation is different. Does the Union want to, do they want to be paying for Jim Curtin and Bradley and whoever steps in? Probably, that would probably not be the ideal. I would see maybe they would let him finish out the contract and proceed from there, but who knows? It's a really tricky situation. But yeah, you see it handled all different ways around the league. So, but I think with the Union's track record of the spending and everything, that they'd not want to have to be paying 3 coaches at once there. So that's just my take. But again, depends, I think, if it continues to sink lower and lower. But yeah, I mean, on track to be the worst season, not, it doesn't necessarily, doesn't mean it will be the worst season. But I was actually looking at some stats earlier that someone provided me with. But yeah, like 2010 actually was, I believe, their worst so far. But yeah, it's not tracking well, we'll put it that way. And unfortunately, I don't think all of it is, on Bradley, but he's not, obviously he's still like a part of this. So that's how it tends to go.
Well, the buck stops somewhere, and it typically does with the coach. We're gonna roll the clip here. What? Keep going. Okay. Yeah, I hear you, Jill. I see producer Todd going like this to tell me to keep going. Todd will give me a message, I'm guessing at some point, whether we have a clip or not, of the I think probably for me, again, not to read too much into it, but especially after being vulnerable, seeing the game, or being, I guess, managing the game that he did. But a really interesting comment that Carnell made after the match in terms of how he felt and maybe how the team uses, or maybe doesn't use, or if they even realize where they are this stage of the season. Let's go ahead and play the clip of Carnell talking about having the worst start in MLS and Philadelphia Union.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. No, of course we do. This is not a standard that we want to be at. This is not the, I don't want to say the performance, because I thought we dictated the second half. I thought we had 2 moments out of 90 minutes. But other than that, I thought we had a good game. We had moments of good quality on the ball, and I thought our defensive posture. I think we outshoot the opponent. We have a lot of things in terms of our defensive metrics going for us on the day. So I don't really see it as critical as that. But yeah, being in last place sucks for everyone, and I don't think anyone in that locker room has ever been in that position besides myself. So these are some things that we'll have to turn around the corner very soon, and we can't feel sorry for ourselves. These are things that have to motivate you, and not to shy away and stay away in the shadows. We have to come out in the sunlight and spotlight, and to own it. That's the only way to start a little bit of redemption here.
I don't want to outright call Bradley a liar, because I know different places measure things differently. But he did say that the Union outright outshot the Columbus Crew in that clip, correct? Is my comprehension of it correct? I'm looking at FOTMOB here, and
yeah, they did.
I'm seeing the Union with 3 shots versus Columbus's 5, and Columbus having 3 on target versus the Union having 0. Is this wrong? Oh, that's the first half.
I'm going to say, yeah, because I even wrote in the article that, the Union outshot Columbus, but
there we go.
They couldn't put any on in the goal, so.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I don't know, man, or I don't know, Jillian. When I see someone have this type of stance on it, and I would say this to Bradley too, like, that's great. I could record a shot, not even on target. I just need to shoot the fucking ball towards the net, and it counts as a shot, right? Producer Todd, is this how we're counting shots, right? A shot towards the net, and whether it hits the net or not, like, it counts as a shot. I can do that from 25 yards away and call myself a professional if that's how we're measuring metrics and standing by them. So for him to say that is kind of a little bit of nonsense, and maybe playing the I don't know, spreadsheet game a little bit here of, like, metrics and being data driven, which I guess that there's a play for it. But to kind of lean on that so heavily, it felt a little weird, because I don't know that there's any way where I can square away this performance that I watched and you watched in person, and everybody else who's here watched through a screen. I wouldn't say that they had a good game personally. And to bring up Jim Curtin, razor thin margins. For Bradley to just say 2 moments, it's like, yeah, 2 moments are more than enough to make you lose a game. So I don't know what you make of everything I just said. I'm intrigued to hear your opinion on someone, on Carnell, maybe leaning on that statistic, basically.
Yeah, well, I think the vibe is, I think he really is a little protective of his players. He wants,
Of course.
yeah, like, as you would expect. But I think, even, we'll say when Kyle was asking a question one time, and I think that Bradley took it the wrong way and thought that Kyle was pointing fingers and being critical, when actually Kyle was asking about actually good play by Frankie, but it didn't come out right. He kind of stumbled on his words a little bit. And Kyle's really tired. I think he just didn't get it out the way he wanted to, but I think Bradley really thought he was putting a lot of blame and pointing fingers, and Bradley's like, well, don't want to point fingers here and blah, blah, blah. And he kind of got really defensive. I think he's really, defensive in that. And I'm a coach. I get it. If I want to protect my athletes a bit too, but not coddle them, obviously, and, criticism when it's warranted. But so I kind of get that. I think he really does, care for these players and wants them to perform. So I think sometimes maybe it's a little bit of that, but, and, he'll take some of the blame himself maybe, but yeah, he, yeah, I don't know. I think he said himself that he's more of a glass half full kind of guy. So I think it stems a lot from that too. So I get it. Like I said, in my line of work, I have to give feedback and criticism, but I a lot of times will really try to focus on the positives. So I kind of get that feeling with him.
I totally see the way you're trying to frame it. I just have a very hard time seeing it as half full or trying to be. I guess you got to be positive, and of course, protect the players. get that. In fact, I know I'm very thoughtful. I assume you're very thoughtful. I know from working with Todd, he's very thoughtful, Mike as well, in terms of asking questions and framing them in such a way that we're not pointing fingers or trying to get headlines or trying to get points across in the way that we frame questions, but rather be pretty objective about them. I think Kyle's question, I know the one you're referring to, did not come out of his mouth the right way, and it did definitely feel like it was doing what we wouldn't typically do. But to lean on something like that and to call this game a good game is just, I still can't square it away in my head as, I don't know. I just can't square it away as something that was actually something that was a good game, because I just don't know that it was. I genuinely don't think that it was. And obviously I feel like he is likely saying very different things outside of a microphone to his players in the locker room and on the bus, plane, etc. But we'll see. The Union have to turn the page relatively quick. I don't even know that I wonder if they even got time off leading into next weekend's match. Maybe they got today off and they go back to practice tomorrow. But the Union welcome Nashville for Star Wars night. Bucket hat. I can't remember. Is it a bobblehead too? It's just a bucket hat, right?
I think just a bucket hat. And I think you had to like purchase something extra for that, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I know they do have the Star Wars night. So yeah, I hear everything about bobbleheads.
Well, May 2nd, 7:30 p.m. Producer Todd, if I'm remembering correctly, when the Philadelphia Union welcome Nashville. Hopefully everybody's there at the stadium to watch, despite of the score. And the way that things are going, who knows what happens. Again, not to be flippant about people's jobs, but I wonder if at some point change will be needed. Not that I'm calling it, just genuinely wondering what's going on behind the scenes in terms of decision making, because again, you've mentioned it, Jillian, and said it best. Changes have been made for far, far less. So 51 minutes into the show, no free kick podcast below 45 minutes today. I hope you all enjoy the additional 14 minutes, or I guess odd minutes that we gave you. Maybe you're stuck in traffic. Maybe you're in Amish land and behind a couple of buggies like Jillian tends to be.
All the time. Most
mornings.
Every morning on the way to work.
Giving you all a little bit of extra content, not that we are vamping. I see Jared Cordova wanting us to go for a whole hour. I don't know that I have 7 more minutes in me. That's what she said. But today we are going to finish the show at 53 or so minutes. Jillian, anything you want to plug that you and Kyle, or maybe just you, are working on for the one team we agree on?
Yeah, so I just put out stuff about Union 2 today, and we're going to probably record a podcast tomorrow. So we'll have that, and we'll discuss Union 2 and Academy stuff along with, some of the Union stuff, obviously. And yeah, so stuff coming out about that. If you're someone who follows Union 2 and the Academy, there's going to be plenty of news about that for sure. And yeah, I'll be covering both matches next weekend at Subaru Park. So I'll be on location. Kyle's going to have a really busy week as he is getting ready for the York Marathon. He's not running in it. Okay. He is in charge of it. So he's a lot of planning. So he's pretty busy. So I'm kind of like the lead person this week for sure. So, so yeah, lots coming up with that. So that's where we're at. And for everyone listening, yeah, you can check out that stuff on theoneteamweagreeon.com.
All right. When you said that Kyle was getting ready for a marathon, I'm thinking to myself, I'm a pretty good listener. I think I pay attention to a lot of things, and not once have I heard that Kyle is running to run 26 odd miles.
No, no, but no, he's in charge of that. So with his main job.
There you go. Wanted to make sure I wasn't missing the mark there. For me, gosh, I don't know, Todd. I know I've been working on this for a little bit. Nothing, just water in my old Phillies cup, which 2022 obviously feels like ages ago, looking at the way that the Phillies are playing right now.
Speaking of playing poorly, I got my Sixers cup here.
I just saw the scoreline. That was not good.
It was bad. Yeah, not good.
Not good at all. Working on, Todd, I think it's probably fair to say this week at the latest for an interview with a Spanish-speaking former player. How we're going to go about it, I'm not quite sure. Whether it's the entire thing transcribed and subtitled, maybe. If it's just clips and pieces, probably more likely, I will say. But those that are Spanish speakers and can understand it, you will have a whole, I don't know, Todd, 45 minutes? 55 minutes? 45-minute conversation with a player that I like to think all of you would want to hear from here this week. So more to come. And then MLS duty this weekend once again. Not sure if I'll be at the stadium. My kid's got games left and right. I'm at that stage of my life where he's got a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday game for baseball. So we'll see where I am for all of this. No, not Bruno. He is actually on my request list. I kind of want to talk about to the guy. Poor guy having a really rough season despite holding a DP tag this year. Just tough. But you can find me at Jose R. Nunez. Todd, can you bring up our tags, please? There we go. We are approaching an hour. Holy smokes. Yeah. Jose R. Nunez 91 at silly__Jilly on Twitter. And this is the Free Kick Podcast.